The kitchen clock showed 11:30 when Vivian Carter finally finished scrubbing the last of the dinner dishes. Her hands were raw and red from the hot water, her back ached from bending over the sink for hours, and exhaustion pulled at every muscle in her body. She had been awake since 4:30 that morning, the same as every morning for the past 6 years. 4:30 to prepare breakfast for the family, 5:30 to serve it, 6 to clean up while they ate, 7 to start the laundry, 8 to vacuum and dust the entire mansion, 9 to prepare lunch ingredients, and on until she collapsed into bed near midnight, only to start again before dawn. This was her life. This had been her life ever since the Carters brought her from her grandmother's small house in the countryside, claiming she was their biological daughter who had been stolen at birth and raised by poor villagers. They promised her education, opportunity, a better life. They promised her family. Instead, they gave her an apron and a mop. Welcome to part 1 of this epic Afro-Korean romance saga. This is a multi-part series, so make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2. If you love dramatic love stories with strong heroines and swoon-worthy billionaires, you're in the right place. Now let's dive into Vivian's journey from servant to queen. Now let's continue with the story. Vivian dried her hands on a threadbare towel and glanced toward the living room where she could hear the family laughing at something on television. Her adoptive mother Diane lounged on the leather sofa with a glass of expensive wine. Her adoptive father Bernard read the financial news on his tablet. Devon, her older brother, typed away on his laptop. And Celeste, the adopted daughter who somehow became more precious than the biological one, scrolled through her phone with perfectly manicured nails. None of them had thanked Vivian for the elaborate 5-course dinner she had spent hours preparing. None of them had even looked at her when she served each plate with trembling hands, her stomach growling because she would only be allowed to eat whatever scraps remained after they finished. Vivian's phone buzzed on the counter, breaking her from her thoughts. She picked it up and saw a text message from Devon. Need you to deliver important documents to room 438 at the Sterling Grand Hotel tonight. Business emergency. Client is waiting. Address is 2150 Harbor Boulevard. Leave immediately. Do not be late. Vivian stared at the message, her exhaustion suddenly feeling 10 times heavier. The Sterling Grand Hotel was across town. It would take her at least 40 minutes by bus. She would not get back until after 1 in the morning, and she would still need to wake up at 4:30 to start breakfast. But she knew better than to refuse. The one time she had questioned Devon's instructions, he had convinced their parents to withhold her meals for 3 days as punishment. She had learned quickly that obedience was survival. She wiped her hands again and walked to the living room entrance. The family barely glanced at her. I need to go out for a delivery, Vivian said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Diane waved her hand dismissively without looking away from the television. Fine, but you better be back by dawn. I want my breakfast at exactly 6:30. Poached eggs with avocado toast, fresh squeezed orange juice and that herbal tea I like. Do not mess it up like you did last week. Yes, Mother, Vivian said. And wear something decent, Celeste added, finally looking up from her phone with a smirk. You represent this family even when you are just running errands. We have a reputation to maintain. Vivian wanted to point out that she only owned 3 dresses, all of them old and faded, because the family refused to buy her new clothes. But arguing was pointless. She nodded and retreated to her tiny room at the back of the house. Her bedroom was barely larger than a closet. A narrow single bed with a thin mattress, a small dresser with 3 drawers, and a cracked mirror on the wall. No decorations, no personal touches, nothing that made it feel like her space. She had lived in this house for 6 years, and this room still felt like a prison cell. Vivian changed into her least worn dress, a simple black one that had been Celeste's before she decided it was too plain. She pulled her thick curly hair into a low bun and looked at herself in the mirror. Dark brown skin that Diane always said looked too country, dark eyes that held too much sadness for someone only 24 years old, and a slim frame that came from years of not eating enough. She looked tired, she looked broken. She looked like someone who had forgotten how to hope for anything better. Vivian grabbed the envelope Devon had left on the kitchen counter and headed out into the night. The bus stop was 2 blocks away, and she walked quickly, her worn shoes clicking against the pavement. The neighborhood was quiet and dark, and she felt a shiver of unease as she waited alone under the flickering streetlight. The bus finally arrived and she climbed on, finding a seat near the back. As the city rolled past outside the grimy windows, Vivian let her mind wander to the life she used to have, before the Carters, before this nightmare. She had lived with her grandmother in a small rural town, in a tiny house with a vegetable garden and chickens in the yard. They did not have much money, but they had love. Her grandmother used to braid her hair every Sunday, telling her stories about their ancestors and teaching her to be proud of who she was. She taught Vivian to cook traditional family recipes, to sew and mend clothes, to grow food from the earth. And she taught Vivian about gemstones. Grandmother had a friend, an old man named Mr. Cole, who had spent his life as a gemologist. He lived alone in the mountains after retiring, and he took a liking to young Vivian. He taught her how to identify stones, how to see the potential hidden inside rough minerals, how to understand the subtle signs that revealed true value. Vivian loved those lessons. She had filled notebooks with sketches and notes, dreaming of maybe becoming a gemologist herself one day, or perhaps a jewelry designer. Then the Carters came. They showed her documents proving she was their biological daughter, stolen from the hospital as a baby. They showed her photos of herself as an infant with Diane and Bernard. They promised her everything. And her grandmother, despite the tears in her eyes, told her to go. Told her she deserved the opportunities a wealthy family could provide. Told her to get an education and make something of herself. So Vivian left, and within a month she realized the truth. The Carters did not want a daughter. They wanted free labor. They had tracked her down because their adopted daughter Celeste was high maintenance and expensive, and they needed someone to do the household work they did not want to pay servants to do. By the time Vivian understood, her grandmother had passed away. A heart attack, sudden and devastating. Vivian was not even allowed to attend the funeral. Diane said it would be too expensive to send her across the country for a burial of some old woman who was not even real family. That was 4 years ago. Vivian kept her grandmother's ashes in a small urn hidden in her dresser, the only thing of value she owned. The bus lurched to a stop, and the driver called out the Sterling Grand Hotel. Vivian stood up, clutching the envelope, and stepped out into the cool night air. The hotel loomed before her, all glass and steel and modern luxury. Vivian felt small and out of place as she walked through the revolving doors into the gleaming lobby. Marble floors reflected the light from massive crystal chandeliers. Well-dressed people moved through the space with confidence and purpose. Vivian approached the front desk nervously. "Excuse me, I am here to deliver documents to room 438. The desk clerk barely looked at her. "4th floor, elevators are to your left." "Thank you," Vivian said, but the clerk had already turned away to help someone more important. Vivian found the elevators and rode up to the 4th floor, her stomach churning with anxiety. Something felt wrong. Devon usually sent her on errands during the day, never this late at night. And why would a business associate be meeting in a hotel room instead of an office? But questioning Devon's instructions was dangerous. So Vivian pushed her doubts aside and walked down the plush carpeted hallway, looking for room 438. When she found the door, she knocked twice, no answer. She knocked again, louder this time, still nothing. The door was slightly ajar. Vivian pushed it open cautiously and peered inside. "Hello," she called out. "I have a delivery from Devon Carter." The room was dimly lit. Only a single lamp glowing in the corner. Vivian could see it was a suite, expensive and spacious, but something was very wrong. The air felt thick and her head suddenly felt fuzzy. She took a step inside and the world tilted. Her vision blurred at the edges and her legs felt like they were made of water. The envelope slipped from her fingers and fluttered to the floor. "What is happening?" Vivian whispered, reaching for the wall to steady herself. That was when she saw him. A man stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, his back to her. Even through her hazy vision she could see he was tall and broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive suit that fit him perfectly. His black hair was slightly disheveled as if he had been running his hands through it. He turned, and even through the fog clouding her mind, Vivian could see he was devastatingly handsome. Korean features, sharp jawline, high cheekbones and dark, intense eyes that seemed to look straight through her. But his eyes were also unfocused, his movements slightly unsteady. "Who sent you?" he demanded, his voice deep and rough. His words were slightly slurred. "My brother," Vivian tried to say, but her tongue felt thick. "Devon, documents." The man took a step toward her and stumbled slightly. He caught himself on the back of a chair, his knuckles white as he gripped it. "There are no documents," he said. "You should not be here. Leave now." Vivian tried to turn toward the door, but her legs gave out. She fell forward, and strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. The man had moved with surprising speed despite his own unsteady state. "What did they give you?" he asked, and Vivian realized with shock that he was just as drugged as she was. His skin was flushed, his breathing labored. "I do not know," Vivian whispered. "Please, I need to go." She tried to pull away, but her body would not cooperate. The drug in her system was getting stronger, pulling her down into darkness. The last thing she remembered was the man lifting her, carrying her somewhere soft, and his voice speaking in Korean, words she could not understand but that sounded almost gentle, almost sorry. Then everything went black. When Vivian opened her eyes again, bright sunlight was streaming through massive windows. She was lying in an enormous bed with white silk sheets that felt like clouds against her skin. For a moment she was confused, disoriented. This was not her cramped room at the Carter house. This was not anywhere she recognized. Then memory crashed back and her heart stopped. The hotel, the drug, the man. She sat up quickly and immediately regretted it. Her head pounded and her body ached in ways that made her stomach drop with dread. She looked down and her worst fear was confirmed. She was wearing only a man's white dress shirt, buttoned haphazardly. Her own clothes from last night were folded neatly on a chair across the room. "Oh God," Vivian whispered, tears burning her eyes. "Oh God, no." The bathroom door opened and the man from last night emerged, his dark hair damp from a shower. He wore black dress pants and was buttoning a crisp white shirt, his movements careful and precise. When he saw she was awake, he stopped. "You are up," he said. His voice was neutral, carefully controlled, giving nothing away. What happened? Vivian asked, though she already knew. She could feel it in her body, the soreness, the evidence of what they had done. "You were drugged," the man said simply. "Heavily drugged. I was also drugged." Did we? Vivian could not finish the sentence. She did not want to say it out loud. "Yes," he said, no apology, no explanation, just that single word. Vivian felt like she might be sick. This could not be happening. The Carters would destroy her if they found out. They already thought she was worthless. This would give them proof that she was everything they accused her of being. "I need to leave," Vivian said, pushing back the covers. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, ignoring how they shook. "Where are my clothes?" The man gestured to the chair. "I had them cleaned." Vivian grabbed her dress and practically ran to the bathroom. She locked the door behind her and leaned against it, trying to breathe, trying not to panic. She caught sight of herself in the mirror and gasped. Marks covered her neck and shoulders. Her hair was a mess. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked exactly like what she was, a woman who had spent the night with a stranger. Vivian splashed cold water on her face and changed quickly, her hands shaking so badly she could barely zip her dress. When she emerged from the bathroom, the man was standing by the window looking out at the city. "I am sorry," Vivian said, her voice breaking. "This was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I should not have been here." "Should you not?" the man asked, turning to face her. His dark eyes studied her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Or were you sent here deliberately?" "I do not understand," Vivian said. "Someone drugged both of us," he said. "Someone wanted this to happen. The question is why? What do you gain from sleeping with me?" "I do not gain anything," Vivian said desperately. "I did not even know you would be here. My brother sent me to deliver documents, that is all." "Documents," the man repeated. "To room 438. "Yes," Vivian said, "room 438. That was what the text message said." The man pulled out his phone and showed her something on the screen. "This is my room number." Vivian looked at the brass numbers on the door visible from where they stood. Room 438. "I do not understand," she said. "This is the room my brother sent me to." "Is it?" the man asked. "Or did someone deliberately send you to the wrong room? Or perhaps," he paused, his jaw tightening, "perhaps to exactly the right room." Vivian felt cold dread settle in her stomach. No, Devon would not, he could not have. But even as she thought it, she knew it was possible. Devon had always been calculating and ruthless. If he thought he could gain something from this situation, he would absolutely sacrifice her to get it. "I have to go," Vivian said again. She needed to get out of this room, away from this man, back to the familiar nightmare of the Carter house where at least she understood the rules. "Wait," the man said. "What is your name?" Vivian hesitated. "Does it matter?" "Yes," he said, "it matters." "Vivian Carter," she said quietly. The man nodded slowly. Tae-Yang Kim. The name meant nothing to Vivian. She had no idea who he was, no concept of his wealth or power or status. To her, he was just the stranger she had accidentally slept with, the mistake that would haunt her forever. "I am truly sorry, Mr. Kim," Vivian said. "I never meant for any of this to happen." Before he could respond, she fled from the room. She ran down the hallway to the elevators, stabbing the button repeatedly until the doors opened. She rode down to the lobby and rushed out into the morning sunlight, not stopping until she was 2 blocks away from the hotel. Only then did she let herself break down. She collapsed onto a bus stop bench and sobbed, great heaving cries that shook her whole body. She had been drugged, used and violated, and somehow she knew that when she got home, the Carters would find a way to make it her fault. The bus ride back felt like it took hours. Vivian sat in the back with her arms wrapped around herself, trying to make sense of what had happened. Devon had sent her to that hotel room, but why? What could he possibly gain from her sleeping with a stranger? Unless the stranger was not random. Unless Devon knew exactly who was in room 438. By the time Vivian reached the Carter mansion, the sun was fully up and she was nearly 2 hours late for breakfast preparation. She tried to slip in through the side entrance, hopping to avoid the family, but Diane was already in the kitchen waiting for her. "Where have you been?" Diane demanded, her voice sharp as a knife. "It is past 8 in the morning. Your breakfast should have been ready 2 hours ago." "I am sorry," Vivian said. "The delivery took longer than expected." Diane's eyes narrowed and she stepped closer, studying Vivian's face. Then her gaze dropped to Vivian's neck and her expression transformed from anger to disgust. "You have marks all over your neck," Diane said. "Vivian, did you spend the night with a man?" The commotion brought the rest of the family. Bernard emerged from his study, Devon appeared from upstairs, and Celeste came running from the living room. They all stared at Vivian with varying degrees of shock and revulsion. "Let me see." Diane grabbed Vivian's arm and yanked her into the light, pushing aside her collar to reveal the marks more clearly. "Oh my God, you did, you slept with someone." Vivian felt humiliation burn through her. She wanted to explain that she had been drugged, that this was not her choice, but the words stuck in her throat. "Devon, who was the man you sent me to last night?" Vivian asked, her voice shaking. Devon looked at her with perfectly manufactured confusion. "What man? I did not send you anywhere, Vivian. I have been home all evening." "You texted me," Vivian said desperately. "You told me to deliver documents to room 438 at the Sterling Grand Hotel." Devon pulled out his phone and made a show of scrolling through his messages. "I have no idea what you are talking about. There is no text here." Vivian felt panic rising. She had deleted the message after reading it, a habit she had developed to save phone storage. She had no proof. "You are lying," Vivian said. "You sent me there, you set me up." "Set you up?" Devon laughed. "For what purpose? Vivian, you need to take responsibility for your own actions." "This is unacceptable." Bernard spoke for the first time, his voice booming through the kitchen. "You have brought shame on this family, Vivian." "It was not my fault," Vivian protested. "I was drugged. Someone drugged me and I do not remember." "Of course you were drugged," Celeste said with mock sympathy. "That is what they all say when they get caught doing something shameful." "Who was he?" Diane demanded. "What is his name? What does he do?" Vivian hesitated. "Tae-Yang Kim," she said quietly. "Kim," Diane repeated. "Is he Korean?" "Yes," Vivian said. "Well, at least he is probably educated," Diane said. "Koreans usually are. What does he do for work?" "I do not know," Vivian admitted. "I just met him last night." The room fell silent. Then Celeste started laughing, a cruel sound that made Vivian want to disappear. "She does not even know his name or what he does," Celeste said. "She just hopped into bed with some random Korean man. How desperate can you be, Vivian?" "That is not what happened," Vivian said, but her voice was weak. "It does not matter what happened," Bernard said. "What matters is that you have embarrassed this family. People will talk, our reputation will suffer." "Then do not tell anyone," Vivian said. "Please, just let me go to my room and we can forget this ever happened." "Forget?" Diane laughed harshly. "Forget that our daughter is loose and reckless? I do not think so." They spent the next hour tearing into her, calling her every terrible name they could think of. Vivian stood there and took it because what else could she do? She had nowhere to go, no money, no friends. She was trapped. Finally, Diane dismissed her with a disgusted wave. "Go to your room. I cannot stand to look at you right now. Vivian fled to her tiny bedroom and collapsed on the bed. She curled into a ball and let herself cry great silent sobs that shook her whole body. She had been used and violated, and now she was being blamed for it. There was a knock on her door an hour later. Devon entered without waiting for permission. "We need to talk," he said. Vivian sat up, wiping her eyes. "What do you want?" Devon closed the door behind him and sat on the edge of her bed. His expression was serious, almost sympathetic. It made Vivian's skin crawl because she knew it was fake. "Vivian, I am going to be honest with you," he said. "I did send you to that hotel room last night." Vivian felt fury rise in her chest. "Then why did you lie?" "Because things did not go according to plan," Devon said calmly. "You were supposed to meet Richard Flynn. He is a wealthy investor, 62 years old, recently divorced. He has been wanting to partner with Carter Enterprises, but he wanted something extra in the deal." Vivian felt sick. "You tried to prostitute me." "I prefer to think of it as a mutually beneficial arrangement," Devon said. "Richard gets companionship for the night. We get the funding we desperately need. Everyone wins." "Except me," Vivian said. "You would have been fine," Devon said dismissively. "Richard is a gentleman. He would have treated you well, probably would have given you some jewelry or something." Vivian stared at her brother in horror. "How can you be so casual about this? You tried to sell me to a stranger." "You are being dramatic," Devon said. "But anyway, it does not matter now because you went to the wrong room somehow. Room 438 instead of room 483. So instead of Richard Flynn, you ended up with someone else entirely." "Who?" Vivian demanded. "Who is Taeyang Kim?" Devon pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. A professionally taken headshot of the man from the hotel, looking powerful and intimidating in a sharp suit. "This is Taeyang Kim," Devon said. "He is the CEO of Kim Industries, one of the largest corporations in the world. He is 32 years old, unmarried, and worth approximately $20 billion. Vivian felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her. 20 billion. "So you see," Devon continued, his eyes gleaming, "you actually lucked out. Richard Flynn is worth maybe 200 million, but Taeyang Kim, he is in a completely different league." "What are you saying?" Vivian whispered. "I am saying this could be very good for our family," Devon said. "If you play this right, if you convince him to marry you or at least keep you around as a mistress, we could all benefit enormously." "You are insane," Vivian said. "He does not want anything to do with me. It was one night, a mistake." "Maybe," Devon said, "or maybe he will want more. Rich, powerful men like that, they get obsessed with women sometimes. Especially exotic ones." "Exotic," Vivian repeated, disgusted. "You know what I mean," Devon said. "You are different. Black, beautiful, mysterious. You could be exactly what he has been looking for." "Get out," Vivian said. "Get out of my room." "Just think about it," Devon said, standing up. "This could change everything for us. For you, do not throw away this opportunity." After he left, Vivian lay back down and stared at the ceiling. She felt dirty and used and completely hopeless. Devon had deliberately sent her to that hotel to be assaulted, and now he wanted her to pursue the man for money. She thought about Taeyang Kim, $20 billion, CEO of a major corporation. A man like that would never want anything to do with someone like her. She was nothing, nobody, just a poor girl from the countryside who had been tricked into servitude by a cruel family. Vivian closed her eyes and wished desperately that her grandmother was still alive. She would know what to do. She would tell Vivian she was strong enough to survive this. She would tell her she was worthy of love and respect, even if nobody else saw it. But grandmother was gone, and Vivian was alone. 3 days passed and Vivian tried to pretend the night at the Sterling Grand Hotel had never happened. She woke at 4:30 each morning, prepared breakfast, cleaned the house, and stayed out of the family's way as much as possible. They were still furious with her, still making cutting comments about her shame and worthlessness, but at least they had stopped interrogating her about Taeyang Kim. On the 4th day, everything changed. Vivian was in the kitchen preparing lunch when she heard raised voices from the front of the house. The doorbell had rung, and someone was arguing with Bernard at the entrance. "I am here to see Vivian Carter," a woman's voice said, elderly but firm. "She is not available," Bernard replied coldly. "Then make her available," the woman said. "I am not leaving until I speak with her." Curious and nervous, Vivian wiped her hands on her apron and walked toward the commotion. What she saw made her stop in her tracks. An elderly Korean woman stood in the doorway flanked by two large bodyguards in black suits. She was small in stature but radiated authority. She wore an elegant navy blue hanbok embroidered with silver thread, and her silver hair was pulled back in an intricate bun. Despite her age, her eyes were sharp and missed nothing. Behind her stood a younger man in a suit, clearly an assistant or secretary, and behind him, barely visible, was Tae-Yang Kim. Vivian's heart stopped. What was he doing here? The elderly woman's eyes swept the room and landed on Vivian. Her expression softened immediately. "You must be Vivian," she said. "Come here, child, let me look at you." Vivian approached slowly, acutely aware of how she must look in her faded dress and worn apron, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, hands rough from cleaning. Diane stepped forward with her practiced society smile. "I am Vivian's mother. May I ask who you are and what this is about?" "I am Grandmother Hana Kim," the elderly woman said. "I am Tae-Yang Kim's grandmother. And I am here because your daughter spent the night with my grandson 4 days ago." The room went deadly silent. "Grandmother, please," Tae-Yang spoke for the first time, his voice tight with embarrassment. "This is not necessary." "Not necessary?" Grandmother Hana turned to him with surprising fierceness. "You come home after years of isolation, no allergic reaction for the first time in your life, and you think it is not necessary to pursue this." She gestured at Vivian. "This young woman may be the key to your happiness and you want to just walk away." Vivian felt completely lost. Allergic reaction, what was she talking about? Grandmother Hana turned back to Vivian and her expression gentled again. "My dear, did my grandson explain his condition to you?" "No," Vivian said. "I do not understand what is happening." "Then let me explain," Grandmother Hana said. She walked further into the house, uninvited, forcing Bernard and Diane to step aside. The bodyguards followed, creating an imposing presence in the Carter family living room. "My grandson Tae-Yang has suffered from a rare condition since puberty," Grandmother Hana said. "He is severely allergic to women. Any physical contact with a woman causes him terrible pain. Hives, rashes, difficulty breathing. For years we thought he would never be able to have a normal relationship or family." Vivian glanced at Tae-Yang. He stood stiffly by the door, his jaw tight, clearly hatting every second of this conversation. 4 nights ago," Grandmother Hana continued, "something miraculous happened. My grandson came into contact with a woman, and for the first time in 18 years there was no reaction. No pain, no rashes, nothing." She stepped closer to Vivian and took her hands gently. "That woman was you," she said. "You are the only woman my grandson can touch without suffering. Do you understand what this means?" Vivian shook her head slowly. "It means you are special," Grandmother Hana said. "It means you are precious beyond measure. It means," she paused for emphasis, "that you will marry my grandson." The room erupted. Diane started talking over Bernard, who was demanding explanations. Celeste looked like she might faint. Devon stood frozen in shock. But Vivian only heard the roaring in her ears. Marry him, marry Tae-Yang Kim, the billionaire CEO, the man she had accidentally slept with while drugged. This was insane. "Mrs. Kim," Vivian said, her voice shaking. "I appreciate the offer, but I cannot possibly marry your grandson. We do not even know each other." "You will get to know him," Grandmother Hana said firmly. "Tae-Yang, come here." Tae-Yang approached reluctantly. Standing next to each other, Vivian was struck again by how handsome he was. Tall and broad-shouldered with perfect features and those intense dark eyes that seemed to see right through her. "Grandmother, this is not necessary," he said quietly in Korean. Grandmother Hana replied in rapid Korean, her tone making clear she would not be argued with. Finally, Tae-Yang sighed and switched back to English. "Miss Carter," he said formally, "I apologize for my grandmother's forwardness. However, she is right about my condition. You are the first woman I have been able to touch in 18 years without severe physical pain." Vivian felt overwhelmed. "I do not understand why. What makes me different?" "We do not know," Tae-Yang admitted. "Doctors have run tests but found nothing conclusive. You just are." "Mrs. Kim," Mr. Kim Bernard finally found his voice. "This is all very sudden. Perhaps we should discuss this matter privately, family to family." "There is nothing to discuss," Grandmother Hana said. "Vivian will marry Tae-Yang. We will hold an engagement party tomorrow to announce it publicly. The wedding will take place within 2 weeks. 2 weeks, Diane gasped. "Is there a problem?" Grandmother Hana asked. her tone making clear that any problem would be dealt with swiftly. No problem at all, Diane said quickly. We are honored, truly honored. Vivian could see the calculations running through her parents' minds. The Kims were worth billions. This marriage would save Carter Enterprises from bankruptcy. Of course they would agree. Wait, Vivian said desperately. Does no one care what I want? Grandmother Hana turned to her with surprising gentleness. What do you want, dear? Vivian opened her mouth to say she wanted to refuse to go back to her simple life, to forget any of this had happened. But then she looked around the Carter mansion. At Diane's false smile, at Bernard's greedy eyes, at Celeste's jealous glare, at Devon's calculating expression. This was not her home, these were not her family, they had never loved her, they had only used her. If she refused this marriage, she would be stuck here forever. But if she accepted it, maybe, just maybe, she could escape. I want, Vivian said slowly, to not live here anymore. Grandmother Hana smiled, then come with me right now. Right now, Vivian repeated. Yes, Grandmother Hana said, why wait, your things can be sent later, come to your new home. But I have nothing, Vivian said, I cannot just leave. You can and you will, Grandmother Hana said. She turned to her bodyguards, please escort Miss Carter to the car. Wait, Diane protested, she needs to pack, she needs to say goodbye. She needs to be free, Grandmother Hana said sharply. I have had you investigated, Mrs. Carter. I know how you have treated this girl for 6 years, like an unpaid servant in her own home. That ends today. Diane paled but said nothing. Vivian felt like she was in a dream as the bodyguards gently guided her toward the door. She looked back at the only home she had known for years, at the family who had never truly wanted her. None of them tried to stop her. None of them said they would miss her. They just watched her go with varying expressions of shock and calculation. Outside, a sleek black limousine waited. Tiang opened the door for her and Vivian climbed inside, her hands shaking. Grandmother Hana settled in beside her while Tiang sat across from them. The bodyguards and assistant took a second vehicle. As the car pulled away from the Carter mansion, Vivian felt tears slip down her cheeks. Are you sad to leave? Grandmother Hana asked gently. No, Vivian whispered, I think I am relieved. Grandmother Hana patted her hand. You are safe now, dear, no one will ever treat you like that again. I promise. The drive to the Kim estate took 30 minutes and Vivian stared out the window in silence, trying to process everything that had happened. In the span of an hour, her entire life had changed. She was engaged to a billionaire. She was leaving the Carters forever. She was going to live in a mansion with people she did not know. It was terrifying, but somehow it also felt like the first breath of fresh air she had taken in 6 years. When they finally arrived at the Kim estate, Vivian could not contain her gasp of amazement. The property was enormous, surrounded by high walls and lush gardens. The main house was a stunning blend of traditional Korean architecture and modern design, all clean lines and elegant curves. As the car stopped in front of the entrance, Vivian saw a line of staff waiting to greet them. At least 20 people stood in uniform, bowing respectfully as Grandmother Hana emerged from the vehicle. Everyone, Grandmother Hana announced in a clear voice. This is Miss Vivian Carter. She will soon become Mrs. Tiang Kim, the lady of this household. I expect you all to treat her with the utmost respect and care. Anyone who fails to do so will answer to me personally. Welcome, Mrs. Kim, the staff said in unison. Vivian felt completely overwhelmed. Yesterday she had been scrubbing floors. Today she was being welcomed as the future mistress of a billionaire's estate. Come, dear, Grandmother Hana said, taking Vivian's arm. Let me show you to your room, you must be exhausted. They entered the house and Vivian tried not to gape at the luxury surrounding her. Marble floors, high ceilings with intricate moulding, artwork that probably cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. A grand staircase curved up to the 2nd floor. Grandmother Hana led her upstairs and down a long hallway. She stopped in front of a set of double doors and pushed them open. This is yours, she said. Vivian stepped inside and felt tears spring to her eyes again. The bedroom was massive, easily 5 times the size of her tiny room at the Carters. A huge 4-poster bed dominated the space, draped in soft fabrics. There was a sitting area with plush chairs and a sofa, a desk by the window, and 3 doors that led to what she assumed were a closet and bathroom. This is too much, Vivian whispered. I cannot accept this. Nonsense, Grandmother Hana said, This is actually one of the smaller guest rooms, but I thought you might want your own space for now, at least until the wedding. She walked to one of the doors and opened it. This is your closet. I have already had it stocked with clothes in your size. And this she opened another door is your bathroom. Vivian peered inside and felt dizzy. The bathroom was larger than her entire bedroom at the Carters. There was a massive soaking tub, a walk-in shower with multiple heads, double sinks, and more luxury toiletries than she had ever seen in one place. I do not deserve this, Vivian said. Grandmother Hana took her hands gently. Listen to me, child. I have had a long life and I have learned to read people very well. When I look at you, I see strength, kindness, and resilience. I see a young woman who has suffered greatly but has not become bitter or cruel. You deserve every good thing. But why, Vivian asked, why are you being so kind to me? Grandmother Hana smiled sadly, because I was you once. I married into the Kim family when I was very young. I was not wealthy or educated. I was just a girl from a small village. And my husband's family treated me terribly at first. They thought I was not good enough. She squeezed Vivian's hands. But I proved them wrong. I raised a good son, built a successful business alongside my husband, and earned the respect of everyone who doubted me. I want to help you do the same. I want you to have the life you deserve. Vivian felt a sob catch in her throat. Thank you, she whispered. Now Grandmother Hana said briskly, wiping at her own eyes. Get some rest, freshen up. Someone will bring you tea and snacks. Dinner is at 7 and I expect you to join us. We have much to discuss about the engagement party. After she left, Vivian explored her new room in a daze. She opened the closet and found it filled with beautiful clothes, all in her size. Designer labels she recognized from magazines. Dresses, pants, tops, shoes, everything she could possibly need. In the bathroom she found luxury toiletries, fluffy towels, a robe softer than anything she had ever touched. She ran her hands along the marble countertop and looked at herself in the huge mirror. She still looked tired and worn, but maybe, just maybe, she could start to heal here. There was a soft knock on the door, and a young woman in a maid's uniform entered, carrying a tray. Good afternoon, Mrs. Kim, she said with a warm smile. I am Suki. Grandmother Hana asked me to bring you some refreshments. Thank you, Vivian said, accepting the tray of tea and delicate pastries. If you need anything at all, please just ring that bell, Suki said, pointing to an elegant bell pull by the bed. Someone will come immediately. Thank you, Vivian said again. Suki hesitated at the door. May I say something, Mrs. Kim? Of course. We are all very happy you are here, Suki said. Master Tiang has been so isolated for so long because of his condition. It has been heartbreaking to watch. But you have given him hope, given all of us hope, thank you. She bowed and left before Vivian could respond. Vivian sat on the edge of her enormous bed and sipped the tea. It was the best tea she had ever tasted. The pastries were light and delicate and delicious. She ate slowly, savouring each bite, trying to remember the last time she had been served food instead of serving it. She could not remember. After eating, Vivian decided to take a bath. She filled the huge tub with hot water and expensive bath salts that smelled like lavender. She soaked until her skin was wrinkled and her muscles finally relaxed. When she got out, she found a note had been slipped under her door. Dinner at 7, please wear the blue dress in your closet, Grandmother. Vivian opened the closet and found a stunning dress in deep sapphire blue hanging prominently. The fabric was soft and luxurious, the cut elegant and flattering. She held it up to herself in the mirror and could not believe this was meant for her. At 6:45 there was another knock. Suki entered with a smile. I am here to help you get ready, Mrs. Kim, she said. I can dress myself, Vivian protested. I know, Suki said, but Grandmother Hana wanted to make sure everything was perfect for your first dinner with the family. Please, let me help. I promise I will be quick. Suki helped her into the dress and it fit perfectly, hugging her curves before flowing gracefully to her knees. She helped style Vivian's thick curly hair into an elegant updo and applied subtle makeup that made her features glow. When Vivian looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. She looked elegant and sophisticated, like she belonged in this world of wealth and privilege. You are beautiful, Suki said. Master Tiang will not be able to take his eyes off you. At 7 exactly, Vivian made her way downstairs to the dining room, her heart pounding with nervousness. She found Grandmother Hana and Yang already seated at a long formal table set with fine china and crystal. Yang stood when she entered and Vivian felt her breath catch. He was even more handsome in the warm evening light, wearing a dark suit that emphasized his broad shoulders. His dark eyes swept over her and something flickered in his expression. Appreciation maybe, or surprise. "Miss Carter," he said with a slight bow, "you look lovely." "Thank you," Vivian said, taking the seat across from him. The meal that followed was both wonderful and awkward. Grandmother Hana chatted happily about the engagement party, the guest list, the venue, all the details that needed to be arranged. The food was incredible, course after course of Korean dishes Vivian had never tried before. But Yang remained mostly silent, occasionally answering his grandmother's questions but never looking directly at Vivian. She could not tell if he was angry or embarrassed or simply uncomfortable with the whole situation. After dinner, Grandmother Hana excused herself, claiming fatigue. That left Vivian and Yang alone in the formal sitting room with an uncomfortable silence stretching between them. "Miss Carter," Yang said finally, "I need to apologize for my grandmother." Vivian looked up in surprise. "For what?" "For forcing this situation on you," Yang said. "She can be very strong-willed. If you want to back out of this engagement, I will understand." "Do you want to back out?" Vivian asked. Yang hesitated. "What I want is complicated." "Then help me understand," Vivian said. "I feel like I am caught in a storm and I do not know which way is up." Yang walked to the window overlooking the gardens. "For 18 years," he said quietly, "I have been unable to touch anyone. My mother died when I was 14 and I could not even hold her hand as she passed. I cannot hug my grandmother, cannot shake hands with business associates, cannot have any kind of normal relationship." He turned to face her. "Then you came into my hotel room, and for the first time since I was a teenager I could touch someone without pain. Do you know what that felt like?" Vivian shook her head. "It felt like being human again," Yang said. "It felt like maybe I was not as broken as I thought." "You are not broken," Vivian said softly. "Maybe," Yang said, "but I am definitely not normal, and neither is this situation. We barely know each other. We were both drugged that night, neither of us chose this." "But your grandmother did," Vivian said. "My grandmother wants me to be happy," Yang said. "She has watched me suffer for 18 years and she sees you as a miracle, a solution to all my problems." "And what do you see me as?" Vivian asked. Yang studied her for a long moment. "I see you as someone who deserves better than this, better than a forced marriage to a man with a medical condition. Better than being trapped in another situation not of your choosing." "What if I do not feel trapped?" Vivian said. "Do you not?" Yang asked. Vivian thought about the Carters, about 6 years of servitude and abuse, about being made to feel worthless every single day. "I felt trapped there," she said, "with the family that was supposed to love me. Here I feel," she searched for the right word, "uncertain, scared but not trapped, if that makes sense." "It does," Yang said. He walked over and sat in the chair across from her. "Let me make you a proposal." "I thought we were already engaged," Vivian said with a small smile. Yang's lips twitched in what might have been the start of a smile. "A different kind of proposal, a practical one." "I am listening," Vivian said. "Let us make this a contractual marriage," Yang said. "We will go through with the wedding to please my grandmother and to give you an escape from your family. We will live together and present ourselves as a couple in public, but privately we maintain separate lives, separate bedrooms, no expectations beyond basic companionship." "For how long?" Vivian asked. 1 year, Yang said. "After 1 year, if either of us wants to end the marriage, we can divorce quietly. You will receive a settlement of $50 million to start your new life." Vivian's eyes widened. $50 million. "It is a small price for my family," Yang said, "and it will give you complete financial freedom to pursue whatever you want." "Why are you being so generous?" Vivian asked. "Because you did not ask for this," Yang said. "You were a victim in that hotel room just like I was. You do not deserve to be trapped in another bad situation." Vivian considered his offer. It was cold and businesslike, but at least it was honest. No false promises of love, no expectations she could not meet, just a simple arrangement that would benefit them both. "I have some conditions," Vivian said. "Name them," Yang said. "I want to go back to school," Vivian said. "I want to finish my degree in fashion design." The Carters made me drop out 6 years ago. Agreed, Yang said. What else? I do not want your money, Vivian said. The 50 million settlement, it does not feel right. Yang looked surprised. Everyone wants money. I want a chance to build my own life, Vivian said, to prove I can succeed on my own merits. Help me get my education, give me that opportunity, and I will consider the debt paid. You do not owe me anything, Yang said, but if that is what you want, I will respect it. Is there anything else? Just one more thing, Vivian said. During this year, I want us to be honest with each other. No games, no manipulation, no lies. I have had enough of that to last a lifetime. Yang nodded slowly. I can agree to that. He stood and extended his hand. Do we have a deal? Vivian stood and took his hand, feeling that same electric spark when their skin touched. We have a deal. They shook hands formally, sealing their strange contract, but neither of them pulled away immediately. They stood there in the quiet sitting room, hands clasped, both aware of the chemistry that crackled between them despite their practical arrangement. I should let you rest, Yang said finally, releasing her hand. Tomorrow will be a long day with the engagement party. Good night, Yang, Vivian said. Good night, Vivian, he replied. As Vivian made her way back to her beautiful bedroom, she felt a confusing mix of emotions. Relief that she had escaped the Carters, anxiety about the year ahead, and something else, something warm and unsettling when she thought about the way Yang had looked at her. This was just a business arrangement, she reminded herself as she changed into the soft pajamas she found in her dresser. 1 year of pretending, 1 year of playing house, then they would go their separate ways. But as she climbed into her enormous bed and pulled the silk sheets around her, Vivian could not help wondering if a year of living with Yang Kim might change both of them in ways neither of them expected. And whether the electric connection they felt when they touched might turn into something neither of them could walk away from. And that's where we end part 1. Vivian has escaped her abusive family and entered a contract marriage with the untouchable billionaire Yang Kim. But can a business arrangement stay just business when there's undeniable chemistry between them? What happens when Vivian goes back to university and faces her jealous sister Celeste? And what secrets are the Carters still hiding? Find out in part 2, coming soon. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, comment below what you think will happen next, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update, and share this with anyone who loves dramatic romance stories. Your support helps me keep bringing you these epic tales. See you in part 2.